Hi, my name is Riley Crouch. The article I chose is Face-to-Face versus Blended Learning in Higher Education, a quantitative analysis of biological science student outcomes. And below here is going to be my citation. So about the study, the purpose of this article was conducted to investigate the effects of different delivery styles and assessment types on student outcomes. Grades achieved by first-year undergraduates that were studying biology at a higher education institution in the UK were compared from 7 different modules across 2 different academic years, so 2018 to 2019 and 2020 to 2021. In this study, both male and females were compared in face-to-face learning versus blended learning, and you'll see that across those different modules that will be shown in the next couple of slides. Okay, so within this graph, you're going to see that there is face-to-face versus blended learning styles within each category, which is going to be the subjects that these students are taking. Compulsory and elective are in comparison, and as you can see that compulsory sits at about 100 students, whereas elective sits about 80. The biggest jump you're going to see is going to be genetics and evolution, which has a 10.5% difference. So throughout this graph, you're going to see that students were requesting blended learning in comparison to face-to-face, which I thought was very interesting. So in figure 2, you're going to see an NS and an asterisk sign over, and NS means that there is no significant difference, as the star asterisk sign is going to stand for that there is a significant difference within the graph. So as you can see, figure A does not have a significant difference in between face-to-face or blended learning for the percent of students taking reassessment. Whereas graph B, you can clearly see that in blended learning there is a significant difference, specifically within the females, for percent of students achieving greater than 40% of the first sitting. Okay, so table 2, this chart is going to state the difference between the mean and the standard deviation from face-to-face learning versus blended learning. So on the right, you can see the significance and see which ones have the largest significant difference. So genetic and evolution, it states that the mean is 56.5, whereas in blended learning, it has a percent of 51.2. So that clearly just states that genetic and evolution does better in a face-to-face learning environment. And then in biodiversity, you can see that it has the largest significant difference of 0.001, and the percent for face-to-face learning is going to be 53.5, whereas it has a blended learning percentage of 62.5. So clearly, biodiversity has a better success rate in a blended learning environment. So in figure 3, we're going to spot the difference on these dot plots in between face-to-face versus blended learning. So most modules, as you can see, they show a slight decrease in marks in blended learning in comparison to face-to-face. They suggest that students in blended learning may face more challenges in performance. And as you can see, both genetic and evolution as well as biodiversity show the greatest difference of 0.001, and this indicates a strong decline in marks under blended learning. But these dot plots are super fun, and I loved learning about them and spotting the similarities and the significant differences between these subjects. Okay, so this is going to be the last graph. These are scatter plots As you can see, the assessments are in comparison for face-to-face versus blended learning. And it looks like here that in graph A is going to have the most significance in the difference. And it looks like that for the written exam, face-to-face is better than the blended learning. But overall, in all of these different scatter plots, there really truly is not a huge significant difference between the face-to-face and blended learning. So overall, the interesting findings and conclusions, results showed that 4 out of the 7 modules were negatively affected by the transitioning from face-to-face to blended delivery or learning. And the effects of blended learning on student marks was module specific, which we saw throughout all of the different graphs and modules that were shown in the previous slides. What I found interesting was that there was not a huge curve in terms of transitioning from the face-to-face to blended learning, just because every student is different in the way that they learn, and especially for something like biology, I would expect for students to excel or succeed more in a face-to-face learning environment than overall in a blending. So I really found that to be interesting, and yeah. So reflection, why I chose this study. I chose this study, I am in higher education. I work as an admissions counselor and a recruiter, so anything higher education I'm very interested in. I also chose this study because I did go through the transition from face-to-face learning to blended learning whenever COVID hit, so I was very intrigued to see what those results and conclusions were going to result in through this study and how students reacted to that transition. What could have been done differently? I think there could have been a further investigation into teaching methods, student engagement, as well as assessment adjustments. I think that there could have been a further in-depth to those specifics. And then future studies, anything higher education, I would love more information on, or maybe even a comparison from this study of UK students to American students and the transition for them. I think that that would be very interesting, and I would love to see the conclusion and results to that as well. But yeah, this was my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it.